And then there's these postal requests, which we've heard about. Can you tell us about them, Lisa, please?
Yeah, basically, they have these postal request forms, which they distribute. They're in their Blueprint for Living magazine, and they're in Echo Street. And you fill them out, and you send it off. And it was £25 for one person, £40 for a family. And you write down what your request, and you send it off. And Tony and one of the women that worked from AD in Cowman say that they will think about your request and make it come true. So people are sending off their requests all the time with checks in them to Tony Quinn. I mean, that, to me, I would think that's...
And we've got one of them, a copy of one of these requests. And it reads, I want a Mercedes Space Saver. I want a family skiing holiday. I want a named person to swim perfectly. Mm-hmm. I want her to do the backstroke. I want her to get another... I want to find my own goals. I want Anna to go to sleep every night in her cot. I'm changing the names, obviously. And I want another child to be in bed, sleeping sound every night. And I want to win €100,000. Mm. But like anyone who writes this stuff and puts money in an envelope and sends it to anybody, let it alone be Tony Quinn, doesn't actually believe that Tony Quinn is going to magic up a Mercedes and a skiing holiday and 100,000.
I mean, to me, it just sounds insane that anyone would do that. That anyone would think that by sending money off in the post, you know, you're going to win money or you're going to have everything you wish for. It's just, and for an organisation to be taking money for something like that, I think is just outrageous.
Now, I know people say, what about mass cards and mass petitions? But I don't think people put in mass cards to get a car or a skiing holiday. Mm. What the amazing thing, Lisa, is, and you sent us in the programme you made, and it's extraordinarily well made, by the way. Congratulations. And it was your idea?
Me and my friend Amy.
I thought it was very brave what you did. Very brave. Now, why hasn't it been broadcast?
There's, as you can imagine, there's a ton of legal implications when you come to something like this. Yeah. You know, and I think it would be... I mean, people have been trying to expose this for years. I mean, Richard Oakley in the Sunday Tribune, or formerly the Sunday Tribune, you know, has
been writing on it for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, and I know he did some Harry McGee, and, like, it's just a very hard thing to tie down because, you know, technically he's not doing anything illegal. People are handing him their money. They're saying, take my $20,000, I'll remortgage my house, I'll get a loan, I'll leave my family to come work for you. You know, there's nothing technically illegal going on there. It's very hard to tie down. Mairead
is on the line. Stay there, Lisa, please. I'm speaking to Lisa McCaughey, who's made a documentary on Tony Quinn. Did anyone question your methods, by the way, Lisa? Because that's where you'll get into trouble, I presume. The fact that you recorded somebody secretly. Yeah. We're not allowed to do it without explicit approval from the Director General. So you were allowed to do it, I presume, because you were...
Exactly, and the supervisor did say to us, it's such a pity that this could never be aired because you didn't seek permission from the Director General, because we weren't making it originally to have it aired. We just wanted to pick a topic, you know, for our degree, and this ended up being it. And it just, the deeper we got into it, the more stuff we dug up and the more explosive we found that it was. So, it is a pity. I think that, you know, it might not be seen, but even if one or two people hear about it and they can stop their loved one or stop themselves from getting involved, I think it will be worth it.
Okay, stay there for a sec. 51551 text and joe@rte.ie. Mairead, good afternoon. You're in Kerry.
I am indeed. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Lisa mentioned yoga there. That was where Tony Quinn started after he was a butcher. And you say that's how you became involved, was through yoga.
Yes, indeed. Well, I was into yoga for many years. I'd be the same vintage as yourself. I'd been to a few classes when I was in college, and then I have two daughters. And when they were little, I'd been going to classes in the local VEC in Bray. And the teacher there was trained through the Irish Yoga Association, and she was saying, you know, you should do a teacher training course to go a bit further into it, because I was enjoying it so much. But unfortunately, they weren't taking on any students that year until the following year. It's a biannual thing. Okay. So I heard about this place in Echo Street in Dublin. I'm not quite sure where I heard about it. I think it might have been in the Golden Pages, or maybe I did see that Blueprint for Living magazine. I can't remember. I'm talking 20 years ago here. So I went along anyway, and they were doing a teacher training course, and in 6 months you could be a yoga teacher. So I thought, right, I'll go for this. And it was one night a week. I think it was about 3 hours on a Thursday or so on. So I paid up my money, and I went along, and I was just astounded. Like, it was nothing to do with yoga as I knew it at all. And I'm absolutely shocked by all the things I've heard.
And what was it to do with? What did you do in this course?
Oh, well, all the people who wanted to be yoga teachers were there, and they were all sitting around being told how much money they could make, basically. Mm-hmm. And there was, of course, we were told that Tony Quinn had brought yoga to Ireland, and I was going, but like, you can go to classes in the local VCs, and classes have been going for ages, and there are plenty of people teaching and whatever. And what about the various books that people study and things like that? I was told, you don't need any books. Tony will tell you everything that you know. You need all the information is here. We'd prefer it if you hadn't any experience of yoga before, because then you can get the correct teaching from Tony. So I thought this was a bit bizarre. I didn't kick up too much about it. I think I said it once in a class. I said something about, what about, the Patanjali books and things like that, which are well known when you're studying yoga, the origins of yoga and all of that. And what about all the classes that are going on through the VCs all over the country? And I was just sort of told, nothing to do with that, forget about that, you'll learn all about it here. But the whole emphasis was on making money, which I was not at all comfortable with. And none of the people there, the other students who wanted to do the yoga teachers course, had even been to a yoga class before. I thought it was quite bizarre. I was a bit uncomfortable with it, and after about 3 or 4 sessions, I'd be saying it to my friends and that. I said, I don't know about this. Anyway, one day in the post, about 3 weeks into it, I got a letter with my cheque returned, and saying, dear Mairead, Tony has decided that you're not a suitable applicant for this course, therefore here is your fee is now returned, and please don't come back. I thought it was absolutely bizarre. I never met the man. I had never met the man. So somehow or other, through the way the place works, somebody had decided that that I wasn't a suitable applicant. So, I mean, maybe he does have some psychic powers or something. I thought it was absolutely bizarre. And I was, first of all, I was annoyed, and then I was sort of relieved, because when I heard more stories afterwards, I did a proper teacher training course, a 3-year course through the Yoga Institute of Ireland, and I got my degree, and I've taught yoga for years since and enjoyed it very much, and it's very mainstream, and it just frightens me to think that people might go to a yoga class and not realise where their teacher is trained, and somebody might have gone through one of these 6-month courses and have a totally different agenda, and possibly want to be selling all these tablets and maybe even signing people up for these courses. I don't know. I've only heard about these Bahama courses recently. I think it's absolutely appalling. It's very, very sad, because there are a lot of vulnerable people out there, and it's very, very sad that people can be exploited to such an extent. But my main concern would be that yoga is a very, very pleasant and helpful asset to somebody's life.
Okay, stay there for a second. Lisa, the other aspect which I'm reminded of here by a caller is Tony Quinn's link to Steve Collins, the boxer. Yeah. And that seemed to give Tony Quinn an enormous publicity boost.
It did, and that was in the earlier days, and Tony said that he had hypnotised Steve to feel no pain, and so that he'd be bleeding and he'd be boxed up and he'd be fine, he'd be able to keep going. And again, he probably did hypnotise him to feel no pain, but this isn't a new thing. This isn't any groundbreaking thing. People have been doing this for years, and Steve has since completely dissociated himself with Tony Quinn. He won't talk about it at all. We tried to interview him for the documentary. I think...
And what does Steve say about...
He wouldn't talk about it. He just won't talk about it. I think it came out that he'd paid him maybe $150,000 to train him. And that's one thing that this guy, that Amy, approached the guy in Tony Quinn who was trying to get her to come on the seminar, and he said he took this boxer and this boxer was nobody and he made him world class. So Tony's taken full credit for Steve Collins. When I don't think he really did
at that stage. Steve Collins was defending a world title, so he already had it. But Tony Quinn got on the late with Steve, isn't that the other? To say how I thought at some stage Steve Collins mentioned the figure of $300,000.
It could have been, yeah. I mean, it's been disputed for years, but it came out in some court case. I can't remember what circumstances was, but it did come out what he paid him. But like I said, since then
where does Tony Quinn live?
He's based over in the Bahamas, we think, but he's still got a place in Malahide that he comes over. That's where he stays when he comes over here.
The Martello Tower, yeah.
Yeah, huge big place. But he is basically based over there. He's supposed to come back every 2 months for advanced courses. This is what the guy told Amy. He said, you're not just paying your $20,000 for your 2 weeks. You've got an advanced course every 2 months when you come home. So he's there for you all the time. Any support you need, anything like that. Tony will always be there.
And did you try and interview Tony Quinn?
Yeah, we asked. They refused point blank.
But did you talk to anyone in the organisation?
Yeah, we did. We talked to 2 of the main guys in the organisation, and one kind of threatened us and said, we're not interested in doing any interviews, we're not interested in the media at all. I've talked to you longer than I've talked to any other reporter, and what we are interested in is people who cross the line and people who try to say things about us that aren't true. And we'd be more than happy to take those people to court, and, that will be a sorry day for that person, was what he said to her on the phone.